Good morning from New Zealand in the southern hemisphere. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you might be around the globe. We're delighted that you can join us today for this S100 workshop, which is being broadcast to you from New Zealand, Wellington, from the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission. So what I intend to do is just share with you a little presentation that I gave recently at a IHO IRCC workshop, and this will provide some context for you in terms of timeline, but also the reason and objectives for this workshop. So those that you attended, you'll have seen this presentation, but please bear with me. There are 2 or 3 slides that I wish to point out and to explain where we are now, how we got here, and next steps as well. So IRCC had a workshop which was earlier this month, and it was really for regional hydrographic commissions, member states, to share their progress with the implementation of S100, and more broadly than that, the progress with the IHO, the new IHO strategic plan. So where we've come from, this is the timeline I shared in terms of 2020 and the handover and meetings that we had in 2020, including IRCC, and very importantly, the Assembly, and the decisions that were made at Assembly in terms of the adoption of the IHO strategic plan and the S100 implementation roadmap. And you will recall in February earlier this year, we had the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission 18 conference, which was held online. So that considered a number of strategic context and how they related to the goals of the IHO strategic plan. And we as a commission then put together a gap analysis template. Next slide. And we asked some questions for each of the 3 goals of the IHO strategic plan. Goal 1 being really focused on S100 and the implementation of S100. So the template was relatively straightforward, which was completed then, and we shared that information, and then we brought that information together in a gap analysis and created then a document which we could work from in the future in terms of developing the 3 to 6 year work plan for the Commission. So the reason for the IHC workshop was to share our findings and challenges with member states of the IHO and different regional hydrographic commissions, and our approach in terms of the gap analysis, which has been adopted by other regional hydrographic commissions. So in terms of the findings, next slide, and the experiences that we found that the IHO strategic plan is fit for purpose in terms of summary brochure, simple, easily accessible, and within that it had 3 goals, targets, etc. SPIs, strategic performance indicators, for S100 and the other goals. We had some concerns and in terms of what they actually meant in terms of clarification and rework. So the IRCC and Council are looking at those targets now. And also there's been some changes for some of the targets in terms of percentages of member states implementing S100. So that will come through in IHO meetings from Council. So in terms of goal 1, experiences from Southwest Pacific, I conveyed that it's easy for traditional hydrographic offices to relate to, but largely it's complex, bigger than you think, and also it's it's not quite clear exactly how we're going to do what we need to do, and there's a lot of questions still to answer. So there is that risk there and uncertainty. And for us, there is a risk in terms of working within our own hydrographic offices, i.e. Not working across and more broadly across our community. So there is, for us, a lot of benefit in sharing the load on the S100 journey. We are all on. So the next slide, in terms of the challenges then for S100, whilst traditional hydrographic offices, primary charting authorities will be implementing S100, we wouldn't wish to leave anybody behind, i.e. all coastal states need to understand the value and the benefit of S100. And also the clock is ticking, we're aware of that, and there are targets and there is a roadmap there. I think also we need to be bold. This is a big shift for us and our community, which is largely a conservative community. So we need to be thinking in different ways and with a different mindset. We need to develop the capability to manage the transition, and we have also the challenge of the dual fuel, S57 and S101, and also the future of the hard copy paper charts. So that's what I shared with IRCC. Next slide. And I also shared the next steps in terms of this commission, in terms of our workshop, which we are hosting now, and also an action to start the process to develop a 3 to 6 year work plan in anticipation of our February 2022 meeting next year. And so hence this workshop now to share amongst the Commission members, amongst all coastal states, the value of S100, but also how we as hydrographic offices and primary charting authorities are implementing S100. So we're very excited to have this workshop, and we're looking forward to hearing from all the presenters and the questions as well, having your questions. So I'll hand over to Stuart now, and he can talk through the presentations, and we can get started.
Okay, thank you, Adam, for setting the context. So we have 5 hydrographic offices giving an update or review on their progress with S100 so far. So from France and Chom, we have Pierre Yves. From New Zealand, we have our very own Marina Bosman-Borsos, if that's correct, maybe not. From Australia, we have Hilary Thompson from the Australian Hydrographic Service. Representing the UK in the hydrographic officer, we have Chris Hunt, based out in Singapore. And then from within the region in Fiji, we have Gerard Rocco from the Fiji Hydrographic Service. So we've got 2 hours in total for this workshop. We'll take a 5-minute break about halfway through. Hopefully, just give people a quick break, and then we'll carry on. So what I'll do is I'll hand over to Pierre. I'll just put everything up on the screen, and hopefully we should be underway. So please just bear with me a minute.
Okay, so good morning all, good day all. So I'm about to share my screen if you like. So just briefly, I present myself. So I am Pierre Dupuy from Chom, and I am the head of Public Services and International Relations Directorate in Chom. I do the presentation on behalf of Laurent Carleguer, who apologizes to not to be here with us tonight, or for you today. So I am about to share the screen. So thank you very much to give us the opportunity to share our views and our intentions in SHOM about the S100. As an introduction, I would like to inform that since July, we have an approved roadmap in SHOM for the S100 transition. So I would say it's rather a first version of this roadmap. You understand, I think, very well that there are things involving, and there will be updates and new inputs in the future, and we will update this roadmap. You know this very well. We share these common issues in the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission, and in SHOM, really, we have the same issues. In particular, we do need to manage the transition and to have additional capacity to produce the future S100 products. We do need to set up actions to have experimentations, lessons learned with others, with users, with in France, with ports, with partners in S100 products, in future products. And we have also identified the need to interact with the national authorities for preparing the future for e-navigation. Before I enter the specific goals for we have in our roadmap, I would like to highlight that there are, for us in SHOM, in our view, important actions within IHO. So the priorities are given to route monitoring S100 products. So this is a scheme adopted in the recent C5 and the priorities. So the HSCC had exposed to the C5 and it is adopted. So it's very important to take this into account in our view. And also we take this as important, the fact that S101 and S98, which is on interoperability, should be available in 2025. When we discuss S100, we have this question about S101 value and its added value compared to S57 ENCs. And for us in SHOM, we do see S101 as the foundation layer, which will be interoperable with the other S100 products, both for route monitoring, and we don't have to forget route planning. There is an important improvement with S101 and S100 products. There will be machine readable products. So really, we do think that we will have with these new products a new way to improve more easily the products for the users. With the S100 and particularly S101 for SHOM, there is an important aspect, which is cybersecurity and data integrity reinforcement with the IMO, with the new scheme. And we do see this as something compliant or with the IMO concerns. Obviously, there are technical improvements, not that much, but we will see the possibility for the future to have automated process, particularly for the pepper chart production. So now in the roadmap, we have identified that we need to be more involved in S100 ECDIS development. In the past, in the recent years, we were not that much involved in the equipment, in the ECDIS, and we realized that we have to look at this carefully, the evolution of the ECDIS for S100, and we will try to support HCCC for the revision of the IMO ECDIS guidance and ECDIS performance standard. We do think that it's important for the development of S100 products to have available systems for the users. And even we have the view that the conversion in SHOM, the transition, should be synchronized with the S100 ECDIS and the evolution of the carriage conditions. In addition, so to have more knowledge about ECDIS and the issues regarding the development of the S100 ECDIS, we have set up an ECDIS project with the UKHO, and we expect some lessons learned and feedback about the use, for example, of side-by-side, I would say, S57 and S101 for the dual full period. We will have some lessons, and also possibly to have side-by-side regular gridded schemes and pepper chart schemes of ENCs. In addition, and in the future, not maybe in the first phase, we will also introduce the use of other S100 products. One new event in SHOM is the creation of this innovation lab, and particularly useful for the S100 experiments. We try to, and we have set up with ports to have some feedback about the use of S101 and the other products. So it's very new, and we are at the beginning of the story. S101 is the basis, as I say, and so there are different intentions. We would like to do this conversion quickly in a limited time, and our intention is that in 2 or 3 years, we don't know yet. We have to look at this carefully, and we have to look at the capacity and the workload and so on. But we expect to establish quickly what we would like to have a reference coverage in S101. We would like to be invested in S101 and to be very much involved in S100 products as soon as possible when we start to establish the coverage. We have set up a dedicated SHOM team for the transition to look at the capacity and the organization. Probably you know already this. This was exposed by HGCC and at the recent C5. So there are 3 ways identified to make the transition from S57 and S101 and to have the 2 coverages of ENCs. So the top is at the top. This is the way to do based on the 2 coverages maintained by the HO. The middle line is the way which is the coverage established in S101 and maintained by the Hydrographic Office, and the coverage in S57 made available by a third party. So this is our favorite way in SHOM, and on the bottom line it's the way where the Hydrographic Office continues with S57 production, and a third party will produce the S101 coverage. So as I say, so our favorite way is to delegate to a third party, our rank Prima, the availability of the French S57 ENC. We expect to be very much focused on S101 and S100 products to develop the best possibilities from S100 with this delegation to a third party for the S57 ENCs. This is our intention. And for this, Prima has set up a development project on conversions on the 2 ways. And the first phase for the next year, I would say, it's to have some issues identified about the conversion S101 to S57, and to have some inputs about the possibility for the rank to make available the S57 ENC coverage. So in summary, as I just say, so as Prima will make available the S57 ENC coverage, we expect in parallel to automate the puppet chart, or to reduce the time for the puppet chart production. So we have this in our objectives contract with the government. One issue for us, I have mentioned this before, it's that S100 will give the opportunity to strengthen security and data integrity. And in particular, we are happy that HGCC takes the action to look at the possibility to continue or not to adopt the sync delivery with the S100. So it is something which is important for SHOM, data integrity and security with S100. So we have the intention to cooperate with other Hydrographic Office, with the rank, with the HO Singapore laboratory. we do think that for the community, for the hydrographic offices, a key factor of success is mastering the two-way conversion S57 to S101 and vice versa. Because we will have, I would say, three coverages of products to maintain: the paper charts, the S57, and the S101. So it's very important to automate also or to reduce the time and the workload for the production of paper chart. So we will support as much as we can the capacity building at the RHC level. We will support the organization of S100 seminars by the ranks, for example. And we do see the opportunity to develop distant training also with the e-learning platform make available by Korea. So there are more to say probably, but this is the main subject I had to say. If you have questions, I'm ready to answer. Thank you very much for giving me the possibility to share.
Merci beaucoup, Pierre-Yves. Many thanks for your presentation. It's my intention, unless there are some burning questions, to move to the next presentation, and we will then take questions at the end. So please do save your questions, and we'll move to the next presentation now. So the next presentation is from New Zealand, from Verena, Toitu Te Whenua Lins.
Okay, so Kia, my name is Verena, and I'm the technical change leader here at Toitu Te Whenua. During the last Southwest Pacific meeting in February, I have introduced Program Janus and talked about the investigation phase and the related topics we are planning to cover. Today, I would like to share with you where we are at currently, our outcomes that we have achieved so far in reorganizing our database in order to be in a better place to implement S100. So it gets a little bit more technical. Our customer engagement plan, what we will do next, and the long-term timeline in implementing S100. So where we are at, the top timeline is showing only the timeline for this financial year, which started in July. So we are working in so-called work packages that includes 2 sprints, each of 3 weeks. On the left-hand side, you can see the progress bar, and the right-hand side, the high-level topics. So as you can see, we have completed the work around the new database structure by defining new data usages and scaleless usages. This work for us was required to be more flexible and to be able to easier manage new electronic charting requirements with the introduction of the new standard. S101, we are 30%, so we have just started converting test data sets into S101 and are currently analyzing our inform attribute, which cannot be easily translated into S101. The implementation, we are 40%, so the implementation plan cover a high-level transition plan and the estimates for data cleaning and recompilation. And the grid schema, we will also look into creating a grid schema, but this will likely happen next year. So data preparation. So the aim was to rationalize our source data usage and scale arrangement that simplifies the current situation and to make it easier to implement S100. So traditionally, our source data has been arranged in line with the products that were required to be produced. And these were primarily paper chart and secondly ENCs. So our source data arrangement was intended for specific products and resulted, as you can see, in multiple usages, in total 18, with overlapping and repeated data, which was encoded for a particular product purpose. So as per Program Janos, we have proposed a two-stage approach. So in stage one, most usages will retain two compilation scales, which will require the least recompilation initially. Having a two-step stage will reduce the initial effort of recompiling data and will also allow the majority of our current ENC products to produce as is, reschemed in a regular grid. So also during the dual fuel period, we must be able to continue produce our current products for quite a number of years before we can switch to the full benefits of S100. So over time, the compilation scale will be further rationalized by recompiling source to the larger scales, thus retaining the better data and improving the data holdings over time. The final scale have been decided by a combination of retaining the best data and to ensure also a complete data coverage at an appropriate scale. So over time, we will reduce our current database usages from 18 to 5 scales, which are fit for purpose, and aligning our compilation scales to the IHO standard recommendation. This approach is focusing on a data-centric approach and enables us creating multiple electronic products efficiently. And in addition, it also provides a path to increase the quality of our data holdings over time. And long-term, at stage 2, we will have only 4 data usages. So the key driver to improve our current database structure was not only the fact that a more harmonized database puts us in a better position to move towards S100, but also, as I already mentioned during my first presentation, it's a conscious paradigm shift towards a digital-first, data-centric approach to all our work. So data holdings which are only support one specific product should be avoided. So during the investigation, it was shown that some existing source data could be rationalized as it covered entirely by other suitable data. So to completely rationalize data would mean the reduction in richness and detail. So we came up with the concept of called smart rationalization, and was revised, and it represents the retention of selected scale independent data in conjunction with rationalizing only the scale-based data. So we are proposing that all product scale specific objects like land area, coastline, depth contour depth area, they will be rationalized and not be part of the proposed restructured database. However, the scaleless objects will be moved to the scaleless layer. So this approach will only eliminate the scales in the database, but not the data. How does it look like? So we extract, in this case, the soundings and underwater rocks, then other scaleless usages like currents, seabed areas, and then we will only rationalize the scale-based data. So the rationalization of this scale-based data will provide a more harmonious scale for the user and for us less edge matching issues. And also this is an opportunity to improve and recompile areas of interest representing the true purpose of navigation. So also scaleless objects. So for us, the real benefit of using scaleless usage is is the product independency, as they are available for any product at any scale. So this will improve vertical consistency and data management more efficiency, since the features are only there once and need to be maintained only once. So part of the investigation phase was really to define the basic rule, what makes a potential scaleless feature scaleless. So according to our definition, it should be a point feature, which are defined by coordinates, for example, navigational aids. The line features defined by coordinates, for example, straight territorial sea baseline. Then feature, which is used unchanged or is used unchanged on all scales. And the feature, which can be maintained without worrying about surrounding features. But also on top of this, we also needed to ask ourselves, is there an actual benefit of having the data separate? Can it be managed without the reference to other features, or what are the efficiencies of having it separate? So does it even mean more work for us maybe? So another focus was also to develop rules for their inclusion in products, but we are just currently in our investigation phase, so we came up with two possible options which will be further investigated. So one was assigning a schema attribute globally in the source database, and it can be used as a filter to create products, or a so-called scale filter, which is used to filter the data, and then the schema will be applied again at the product stage, the real filter. So one of the scaleless usages, soundings, which was the most complex layer discussed, and we had a lot of different views on it. So moving soundings onto scaleless layer is a new way of thinking, and to our knowledge, this is not a common practice. Our discussion covered topics such as having soundings genera should be managed in usages versus scaleless usages, or do we even need to store them in the source database, or can we leave them in the Bathy database? As per Janos, we have proposed to store them in the source database on a scaleless layer with underwater rocks together. We also had discussion on including the meta feature mQual in the same scaleless usage. However, we came to the conclusion that this needs a little bit more investigation. The aids to navigation layer, we have already, while we already have these stored in a single layer in our current source database, they are, however, not truly scaleless, as we represent them on different usages. So the simple solution is really to remove the representation from the other usages and maybe add some extra features. And then the other layer. So the other theme or scaleless layer is what we're currently calling the other scaleless layer. This is sort of the catch-all layer, and our current decision is to include magnetic variation, bottom qualities, geographic names, location, recs, and abstractions, and they are all point features. Customer engagement plan. So when we think about the impact or what changes the Janos project is going to have on our customers and users of chart products, Janos will going to deliver two changes. One is the ENCs in S101 gridded format with more consistent scales, and also which could replace the current official paper chart folio with an online create and print tool. So these are the key changes that the customer will see. However, we don't talk about Janos project with our customers because it's a technical project, an internal project. So what we want to talk about is more broadly about the new generation of chart products. So we need to talking to them about what the new generation of chart products will include. So it also include the production and availability of high density ENCs. We were moving away from raster products. We also need to remodel our notice to mariners, as we won't be delivering or producing the NTMs in the fortnightly cycle as we do now. And we also need to consider how do we service our users, customers of raster products. And here we were thinking of potentially having a sort of a New Zealand marine chart-based map. So when we look at our current product charts offerings, we have currently our paper charts, BSB products, geotiffs, and we make notice to mariners, ENCs, and our Nautical almanac available. If we think about what that looks like from a customer perspective, so from 2024, we will start seeing a change. So from 2024, our traditional paper chart portfolio will be phased out, and an online create print tool will be phased in, and that will be done region by region. If you look at the BSB product, which is based on the paper chart, we are not going to be able to continue to produce them in a current way as the paper charts are being removed. So we need to make a decision on when we are going to stop producing the New Zealand Mariner, and that needs to be done, of course, before 2024. Then geotiffs are also based on our paper chart products. They will be phased out as paper charts are phased out. And this is where we are considering providing customers with a marine chart-based map for context. So this is really not used for mariners rather than for different purposes like coastal planning, marine management, or just as a background. Notice to mariners, we have our fortnightly edition, and we are starting to think about remodeling that into potentially having a monthly edition, and with ENCs updates available as changes are made. Then we think about our current ENCs and S57 portfolio, which will be in gridded format in S57 and S101. High density ENCs, we already started working on. We have a lot of our reports signaling that this is something which is important and is really useful for them. And then our Nautical almanac, which we have currently in a printed hard copy document, and we will be looking towards to moving that to be all online. So when it comes to the engagement with the customer, we got to consider the product timeline showed before, and we got to consider who are our various stakeholders and when we need to engage with them. So on the left-hand side of the slide, we got the list of the different types of the stakeholder segments. So Maritime New Zealand is the regulator, and we really see a very strong partnership being required. And we are currently developing that partnership with them, and we'll be working in partnership to deliver the material to the customer and to inform them about the changes and what that means for them. And then, of course, our customers are also really important. This is not something we can just drop on paper. So we are really going to need to be working with our customers, both mariners, but also the non-navigational customers and also the data users, to really understand the impact of these changes is going to have on them. So, so that we can really ensure that the engagement that we do and the information we provide is going to be really useful for them. So while the SOLAS class vessels will have to do so by regulation, smaller commercial vessels and the recreational users may not see any benefit instantly. So we really have to make an effort to encourage these users. We also identified service providers as being a key stakeholder, paper charts, ENCs being sold through certain distributors. So we need to make them aware because it may has an impact on their business models. Then they are obviously the international stakeholders. New Zealand Hydrographic Office does a lot of work for the Pacific Islands. So we need to make sure that the stakeholders are aware of the changes and how it will impact them. Also, we are working closely with other hydrographic offices to implement these standard. Oh, I think oh no. I think I skipped something. Okay, so sorry, I think I skipped one line. The hydrographic officers, sorry. So we are also working very closely with other hydrographic officers to implement the standards and to learn from them and to share our learnings as well. And then the Maori, the iwi, are also very important because as a Crown government in New Zealand and as part of the Treaty of Waitangi, we are essentially in partnership with Maori. And so any decision we make, we need to ensure that they are aware of what changes are made and also that they have an opportunity to be involved in the decision making. So what's next? So our plan is really to create now a source data that is a superset of everything required for both products and use a dual stream output to produce both at once. So we know we could be done a provisional S101 ENC from the existing S57 data by matching S101 feature attributes. However, we feel that this is only a one-to-one conversion and doesn't give us the full benefit of S100. Then, of course, the gridding. We need to come up with the transition plan to ensure consistent and orderly conflation of the data so that everything really happens at the right time. And we also would like to develop a business case to get the funding. And in terms of the big timeline, so I think what is visible is that by 2024, mid-2024, we are planning to create the first S101 ENCs. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
So, yeah, thank you, Verena. There's a lot in that presentation. It's pretty challenging for us as a small hydrographic office. I just ask you to hold your questions because we're going to have one more presentation now. And I think we've got Australia, if I'm correct. And then we'll take some questions and take a short break. And I think we can potentially go over time as well. Just bear that in your minds. But otherwise, we'd like to go to Australia and invite Hilary to make the presentation. So thank you, Hilary.
Good morning. Thanks, Adam. I'm going to introduce Michael Clark, who's our new Assistant Director of National Hydrographic Strategies, to enlighten you on our journey so far, which only began in July this year with a project that we've called Project Muru. So Michael will tell you where we're at, but compared to what we've just seen from Linz and Sean, we may be a little bit behind, but we're definitely going to catch up in time and have a strategy early in 2022. So Michael, I'll hand over to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Hilary, and thank you, Adam. I'll just attempt to share my screen. Just bear with me for a moment. Well, thank you. And as Hilary mentioned, I'll introduce Project Muru, which is our digital transformation strategy. And in contrast to the French and the New Zealand presentations, we're still in the analysis and investigation phase of it. So a lot of this is a bit premature. We haven't completed the strategy yet, but I'll give you an overview of where we're at and where we're heading. So for those interested, Muru is our local Dharawal word for the path, and the Dharawal language is the traditional language spoken by Aboriginal families from the Sydney and Illawarra region, which is where the Hydrographic Office is based. Okay, so Project Muru will plan for and deliver the Australian Hydrographic Office's digital transformation strategy and implementation plan. So while there's a lot to do in the background to make it all happen, in terms of what our stakeholders will see, Project Muru will lay the foundations for two main pillars. So firstly, the publication of next generation S101 electronic navigation charts by 2025 or in 2025. And secondly, the digital delivery of AHO's Australian products and services through hydro.gov.au by 2025. Sorry, I'm just using two screens here, so I'll flick back and forward. So a quick overview of the Australian Hydrographic Office chart portfolio. AHO currently produces 896 ENCs and 400 paper nautical charts as of August this year. And that includes charts produced as the primary charting authority for Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. And for context, that's, I believe, the 4th largest ENC portfolio in the world. And you've obviously seen this S100 timeline before, but in accordance with the IHO's S100 implementation strategy, we're anticipating that the S101 Edition 2 product specifications is published in 2024. And from 2025, the AHO will begin releasing S101 ENCs in addition to the S57 portfolio. So in addition to the electronic navigation charts, an S100 capable Ectus will be capable of displaying and querying a range of information overlays, including bathymetric surfaces, weather information, water level adjustments in real time. Project Muru will plan for Australia's production of the first group of these S100 products, and these are the products that can be used while vessels are underway in route monitoring mode. It's important to note some of these S100 products may not actually be produced by the AHO, but by partners within Australia, such as the Australian Maritime Safety Authority or Geoscience Australia. And for example, in Australia, Geoscience Australia publishes Australia's maritime boundaries to the S121 Maritime Limits and Boundaries specification. So it's a bit too early for me to comment on specific details on how and when these additional route monitoring mode products beyond S101 will be produced at this stage. So again, another diagram I'm sure you're quite familiar with. At this stage, and noting that the AHO's digital transformation strategy has not been finalised, we're likely to support dual S57 and S101 production by converting S57 ENCs to S101 ENCs internally. And we plan to concentrate effort in ensuring a highly efficient S57 to S101 conversion process while we expand the S101 ENC coverage. This is to ensure that we have complete control over the conversion rules while also learning the intricacies of the S101 production or S101 specifications and production procedures. But I also envisage a point in time where we will convert our S57 database to S101 and then potentially investigate options such as the second option on the screen there. So I'm probably preaching to the converted here, but we see a number of benefits of S101 offered to users during both route planning and route monitoring phases. We've been engaged with the shipping industry to communicate these advantages over S57. So while we don't expect to see S100 capable Ectuses in Australian waters for some time, probably well after 2025, we do see value in making these S101 ENCs available to support industry training, enhance our subject matter expertise, and ensure resilient distribution channels. So the second aspect of Project Muru of interest to our stakeholders is the switch to full digital delivery of products by 2025. So this is intended to apply to several products not traditionally associated with digital delivery, such as our chart index, nautical publications, and paper charts. So we're working to make Hydro website a one-stop shop for customers, and note that we have no current intent to withdraw printed publications for Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. So it just takes a second for my cursor to pop up to switch to the next slide. So we've launched a new digital chart index service, and it's available from the link on your screen. The index displays all available charts against an electronic chart background image, and chart extents are updated fortnightly in line with our Notice to Mariners updates. All Australian nautical publications will be going digital from 2022 and available to download from hydro.gov.au. In 2022, there'll be both printed and digital versions available. So the benefits of the PDF versions include linked tables of contents, embedded chapter bookmarks, and we apply the Notice to Mariners corrections so users can just re-download the latest version if an NTM is published. And for those interested, you can grab a copy of our Mariner's Handbook for Australian Waters from our website now. We expect that 2023 we will withdraw the printed versions of those publications and just move forward with digital only. So in terms of paper nautical charts, I think most hydrographic officers will agree that paper charts are disproportionately resource intensive to produce. AHO is a digital first production system with paper charts derived from our electronic database, our electronic chart database anyway. So we believe that the geospatial mapping technologies have matured to the stage where paper charts can be produced on demand through web services. And in fact, yesterday we produced our first on-demand paper chart through a web service as a proof of concept that we'll be demonstrating to our leadership shortly. So while on-demand paper charts might look a little bit different to current charts, we have every intention that they will still be official, reliable, high quality, and safe to use for navigation. Through a GIS web service, users will select their chart, the system will extract the latest ENC data, convert it to a paper chart symbology, and export it on the fly as a GeoPDF for printing or use on mobile devices. We have looked at a couple of different options, but a good example of what we're looking at is the US NOAA custom chart service. I've got a couple of screenshots of their service there. I won't go into too much detail with that, but you can have a play on their website if you like. And it's just a paper chart derived over San Francisco Bay. So in regards to the sorry,
the slide hasn't gone over. We're still on pillar 2.
That's me trying to drive 2 screens at once. So that's the NOAA custom chart tool, and that's the paper chart that I derived over San Francisco Bay. But like I said, jump on the NOAA website if you want to have a play with that yourself. So regarding on-demand paper charts, we've got a lot of challenges to overcome to ensure we can continue to produce high standard of product that's expected and relied upon. But we're hoping to have a system up and running pretty soon. We do have something running in our development system, but we're hoping to get it more public-faced in the near future so that we can get some feedback from stakeholders. So that's a bit of an overview of our Project Muru and our digital transformation journey. Like I said, we're still mid developing the strategy. We're hoping to have something a bit more finalised by early next year. But if anyone would like more information on what we're doing, you can either get in contact with me directly, or we've got a digital strategy at hydro.gov.au email address that you can drop us a line. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Just a comment from us here. When Hilary was introducing you and AHO in terms of your progress, you, whilst you are still formulating your strategy in terms of where you are at, where you're starting from, is potentially a better starting block, better starting place in terms of having separated your databases between digital and paper.
Yeah, we do have a couple of, exactly, we have a couple of starting points, particularly as well with the gridded ENCs. That's one challenge we don't have to tackle. We're already there. So yeah, a couple of points where we have a bit of an advantage there, but a lot to overcome as well.
Yeah. But I can recall when you started doing your digital your gridded schemes some years ago now, and that did take you a long time, but sort of set you a good foundation for the future. Okay, so what I propose now is we're going to take some questions, and we've got a couple of questions here. And then we'll take some questions, we'll have a quick break, and then we'll come back for the next 2 presentations, which will be UK and Fiji. But I have a question for Pierre Yves from Cham, France. Pierre, you did mention and talk about a Cham lab, which is an innovation lab, and then you also talked about the IHO Singapore lab. So are they 2 different laboratories? One is Cham and one is IHO Singapore. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed. So the lab innovation of SHOM is really an asset of SHOM, and obviously we have to articulate the experimentations in the lab, in the SHOM lab, and what we could expect, and what we can expect from the IHO Singapore lab, indeed.
Okay, so SHOM will be doing some work in terms of dual fuel in your innovation lab, and also within the IHO Singapore lab, there will be also work done for dual fuel. That is my understanding.
Okay, so sorry, it's not really like this. So what we are doing with the lab, the SHOM lab, is experimentation about the use of S100 products rather than dual fuel. So dual fuel, we expect from the IHO Singapore lab some feedback, some lessons about the conversion from S57 to S101, and from Primar we expect a guidance for this for HOs from S57 to S101, and also some feedback, first inputs for the conversion S101 to S57. So I think it's complementary between the three, if you like.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Verena, you have a question of?
Yeah, I actually have a question regarding the idea that, as I understand, I heard it already the last time, that a rank should or could convert the data from S101 to S57 as part of their job. So I was wondering, yeah, is it the same then for the updates? So can be done that also then on a fortnightly basis for any update? Oh, okay, so a whole service.
We expect this, you know. So we have launched this project with Primar recently to look at the issues, to look at the possibilities that they produce on our behalf, the S57 cells, if you like, from the S101 cells. Is it clear for you? That means, and also for the NC revisions. So the idea is that we will produce the S101 coverage, so, and we will concentrate our efforts on this and the other S100 products, and the rank Primar will have from, obviously, because they distribute the S101 cells and they receive from us the S101, they will receive from us the S101 ENC revisions. They will be able to produce the S57 ENCs and also the ENC revisions. So it's a hope, it's an expectation, and it's not, you know, among the different hydrographic offices, it's not something which is very much known, the possibility, and it's very, for us, it's very interesting to have in the first phase next year some inputs and the possible issues, and to move forward for in this way to that they maintain and they make available the S57 in ENCs and the revisions on our behalf.
It's a very, very interesting concept. Thank you.
Yes, I think from New Zealand's point of view, from Lynn's, it's very attractive to consider the ranks doing the conversion. So we can, and the hydrographic officers can focus on S101 because S57 is a declining and a legacy product. So we're very interested to follow that progress. So are there any other questions from any other participants before we go to the break? Okay, so I don't see any other questions coming up. So what I'm going to say is we'll have a quick break for 5 minutes and we'll be back with you shortly. So please don't go away. We have two presentations now, one from UK and the other from Fiji. So very interested to hear from both, and particularly from Fiji within our region. So please take a break. We'll be back with you shortly. Thank you. Kia ora koutou, and welcome back to the S100 workshop, Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission. So what I'd like to do now is invite the final two presentations, so UK and Fiji. I think first up in order would be United Kingdom Hydrographic Office, and I understand we've got Chris Hunt there, based in Singapore, who's going to make the presentation. Is that correct, Chris? You're there. Hello.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Just while I try and work out the technology and how to share my screen, a small bone to pick with you, and it was very ambitious to give us 5 minutes. You seem to have forgotten how to brew a proper English cup of tea. So boiling a kettle and stewing a tea bag sufficiently. Come on, man. You know, this is. Can you see my slides?
Yeah. And thank you for that feedback, Chris.
Well, you know, sorry to be picky. Okay, so I'm going to jump in if that's okay with everyone. So the title of this I put as Future of Navigation, and the UKHO is increasingly referring to our work around S100 standards by talking about the future of navigation. And this helps us engage our team's creativity and address the important question of why we're doing this. I must say it was an excellent presentation from Verena, and you mentioned the true purpose of navigation, and I suspect that many of us share that same purpose in terms of supporting safe, secure and thriving oceans. And for me at least, I think it's helpful to keep this front and centre of my mind. Those who were at council may have seen some aspects of these slides already, but I thought it was useful to share with this audience. So thinking about the future of navigation, we've put this infographic together, and this puts the S100 standards into context within a digital twin of the real world. So it's based on S100 trial data and illustrates the standards in a single view, showing the breadth of the S100 data specification. Now, we're not saying that this is the whole S100 world. This is our view of the S100 world, and this is where we believe the future and the first use of these products, the product specifications will come from. And we've selected these products to show and help people engage with our perception of how this future ecosystem will work together for SOLAS vessels. The standards referenced on the infographic are some of the more mature product specifications that will be available for navigation over the next 5 to 10 years, where we perceive that we will see the most benefits. So like many of you on the call, we've given this some thought, and this is the way we see it developing currently based on the product specifications available and how they're developing. And the infographic shows some of the areas that the UKHO has chosen to invest in. Now I'm going to try and do something whizzy here and share a video, and it may play. Please shout at me if it doesn't. And again, this was first shown at council. It's a new animation that illustrates the S100 standards in context, along with some of the benefits and opportunities that they can help unlock. So here goes. Who knew we were going to have a movie night? So basically what we wanted to do was bring the S100 standards to life and base them on science and real data, but also depict them in a way that was clear and easy to understand. And the video focuses on the Solent and just looks at some of the products that we're most interested in using real world data and reference materials. So moving on, we've got some areas of collaboration and we're in the process of developing products and services. We recognise that there is no single right answer and nobody has a monopoly on good ideas. So we're working in collaboration and actively engaging with other hydrographic offices, the community and our partners. We're sharing knowledge and experience with others as we go along the S100 journey. The UKHO made a commitment at the second assembly, I think it was, where we agreed that we would help support and take other hydrographic offices on the journey with us. And so we're presenting and raising awareness of our collaboration efforts and ensuring we don't go on the S100 journey in isolation. So again, I've included some information that Admiral Hatcher shared at Council. And on this slide, you'll see the plan of work between the UKHO and SHOM on the S100 ECDIS collaboration. Colleagues may recall that at the second session of the IHO Assembly, China's proposal 2.2, I think it was, suggested a detailed risk assessment on the dual fuel mode for S57 and S101 ENCs. Following this, we spoke to our colleagues in France to explore a project to investigate the data handling of the dual fuel ECDIS and study the feasibility and conditions for a seamless and identical presentation regime. We held a first meeting on this in March this year with a view to implementing a collaborative programme where the aims of the project are to develop a deeper understanding and learning around each of the different identified phases shown on the slide, to risk assess S100 ECDIS and build evidence for the safety case to support IMO approval of the S100 ECDIS systems that also support the display of S57 data for navigation. We are discussing a RENC capability, RENCs were just mentioned, a RENC capability to manage S100 services and build a testing framework that can be used for testbed projects anywhere in the world. And we also want to share lessons learned with friends and colleagues throughout the international community. Moving on, this is the plan of work between UKHO and Germany, looking at development and capability building for S100 datasets and related services. The UKHO and Germany have shared lessons learned around working with S102 data. The aim of phase 1 is to process a trial S102 dataset from BSH via the new ICENC validation flow line. This is to prepare to make the dataset available for early rounds of user testing in phase 2. And phase 2, the aim is to make the data available to view and download via ICNC, an ICNC portal and the Admiralty S100 data service to gather user feedback. The aim of phase 3 is to reflect on our learnings from phase 2 and feedback from our industry partners to develop the next iteration of collaboration and produce a wider coverage of the S102 dataset for the relevant ports and approaches in Germany, and to begin trialling an initial updating and quality assurance regime. The outcome of the phase is to scale our learnings and enable us to understand how to produce and maintain the S102 datasets and provide datasets which are validated, quality assured, and updated in line with user needs. For phase 4, we're looking to provide S102 German datasets which are maintained, updated, supported, and delivered in a way which our trusted partners need in order to provide services to support customers with day-to-day onshore planning, risk management, and voyage simulation. Now, my understanding is this work hasn't yet commenced and the details are being finalised. Don't quote me on the number I'm about to give you, but I think we have UKHO reps on around 13 of the IHO technical working groups. I think that speaks to the spread of the collaboration and working with other domain experts to build a better understanding of the S100 product specifications and how they are shaped. And it's not just about the UKHO talking, I would say it's about listening too. I don't know how diverse the audience is on this call, but we have a phrase in the UK, so it might not be news to people, but the phrase is that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. And I would say that that's a nice summary of our approach thus far. We've published a range of trial data sets. And once again, these cover the Solent approaches, including the ports of Southampton and Portsmouth. The data includes S101 ENCs, which went live in January this year. S102 bathymetric surface also went live in January. We expanded the S102 data last month to cover additional ports as well. S104 data went live in April 21, as did surface currents for S111. And S121 maritime limits and boundaries covering UK limits went live earlier this month. Our trial data sets are available under a standard data exploration license for research and development purposes. And I hope that people will have an opportunity to engage with them. I'm very happy to share the link in chat once again. So our S100 data catalog went live last month. The data sets are available to search, view, and download. And the idea is that this catalog will enable users to view the spatial extent of our S100 trial data sets in a geographical format. It will enable users to select and download the different trial data sets they need by type, by bounding box and geographical location, to switch layers on and off so that they can view a single S100 trial data set or multiple trial data sets, and expand to full screen views via links in the information panel at the top of the catalogue. Importantly, the data catalogue provides an opportunity for users to give us feedback, and we're really eager to hear that feedback. So on our S100 page, we are highlighting all of the open sources of S100 tooling that's available and directing users to the IHO Geospatial Registry. And the key benefit of this is that we're getting users from other hydrographic offices, from industry, downloading the data and asking for help and support and really engaging in the dialogue. We've also developed some S100 training courses, and some colleagues on this call may have already heard about these. We are carrying out product testing on this training, and some of this was recently completed, but I think it's going to be an iterative process. The course that we are currently running is an introductory level course, and that will naturally lead into other different levels. So the icons on the top right of the slide show the various levels of S100 training courses that the UKHO will develop and deliver. The established and advanced courses will be developed and launched in due course, but the aim in the first instance is to roll out the introductory course. And we're using our experienced subject matter experts in the business and working with global stakeholders to gather feedback and feed that into the design and delivery of the learning. Now we've got some key dates. I will undertake here and now to write to colleagues in the region to publicise the online training so that people don't feel as though that they will miss out and they have ample opportunity to dial up. In the same way as we did with the online learning courses that we delivered earlier in the year, we're going to deliver the course according to different time zones. So it should be available, if not within working hours of the Southwest Pacific, then as close as possible to. You'll see that there's a range of dates, and we've started initially with members of ICENC, and as I say, I will write to colleagues around that in due course. So to allow me to circle back to the beginning, I think it's really important to remember that S100 isn't an end in and of itself. We're seeing transformation across our sector, and it sometimes feels like a challenge to keep up, but it's in our common interest to share and be collaborative. And that's why events like today are really important to build and sustain the conversation as we go along. So thanks, Adam, for arranging this. I suppose in this forum, I should call you Mr. Chair. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for arranging this and giving us the opportunity to share our experience. I've got to work out how to stop sharing my slides.
Okay, look, thank you, Chris. A great presentation, thank you. I particularly like the video. Now, I was at a council meeting, so saw the video, and you said you'd post the link into the YouTube for the video. So certainly, I'd like to be showing my colleagues the video and to wider users and within New Zealand, but beyond in terms of Southwest Pacific. So we can make that link available as we are making all the presentations available on the IHO website for Southwest Pacific.
That's in chat now. So thanks to my colleague Dervla for sharing that. It should be in the chat now.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much. So yeah, really impressed and interesting. A number of collaborations there, and I think my comment would be, it's interesting for us all, but my kind of reflection is to see where UKHO is in terms of their collaborations. And so I think it'd be valuable to keep track of your collaborations and also to hear what the value that is being realized through these collaborations are. And that's something potentially we could think about for our region as well. So I'll go now to Fiji, and if people have questions, I'd ask them to save them because we'll take questions after we have the presentation from Fiji. So very pleased to invite Fiji now to make the presentation, and I think that's Gerard. So welcome, Gerard. And you're in the same time zone, so that's a novelty, I think. And good for us in terms of it's within our working day. So anyway, thank you, Gerard. I'll let you proceed.
Okay, I'll try and share my screen now. Good morning all, by the way. From sunny Fiji, it's 30 degrees outside, so I'm sitting here in my office, which is air conditioned, and enjoying the cool 18-degree temperatures that you are enjoying in your various offices. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see that, Jay. Thank you.
Okay. Towards S100, the journey for us in Fiji. As you would know, our office is very small, so we've only got 13 chats. So I think last year we sat down and looked at how we would get to the S101 presentation of our charts. And we decided that we would have S101 ENCs by 2027. That was a little bit hard to accept for the men because we didn't think we had the capability, but we set out a plan. And the first plan was to, in yellow, you will see our data management website, maritime database, and oceanographic data. And then establish one oceanographic sections for tides and datums and our ENC production. So the 13 charts we have, we've been able to convert them to S57 data. Using that S57 data, we are now able to produce paper charts. Unfortunately, our cartographers have yet to learn the production of ENCs. So we have the data, we're producing the paper charts. Now we have to try and produce ENCs. Before we could produce ENCs, the S100 came up, so we had to look further. So the first thing we did was to set up the branch within our department. That has been set up, and then the second, the survey platforms, we got our survey platforms. So that was okay with us. Our surveyors, we have the qualified surveyors to get the data that we require. So that was good for us. We were able to produce new charts using the surveyors' data. So we went into capacity building. We threw in two of our personnel, one to go into GIS, one to go into computer science and information systems, so that they'd be able to run our database and our network. And we sent others to do MSI courses and MSDI courses, so that we could have at least some knowledge of what would be required. The progress so far, we've covered S57 under the SME project. Thanks to the UKHO, we were able to get all our charts. We were able to establish 4 tide and weather stations in our international ports. As you can see in the list there, 4 belongs to the Fiji Hydrographic Service, 2 comes under the Australian Meteorological Service, and 1 under the Fiji Met Service. These are all we are trying to establish a network so that we will have all this data available from our office. We were able to convince Lands Department that better to convert Fiji datum to WGS 84 now instead of in the near future. So we were able to do it, I think it was 2020. So they are currently processing the data. So 2022, we should be able to marry land and sea in Fiji under the WGS 84 system. These are our plans for the future. The upskilling, you already know the formation of the National Hydrographic Committee. We've had difficulties with the National Hydrographic Committee because we are unable to find out who should chair the meeting. The Fiji Hydrographic Service comes under the Fiji Navy, which comes under the Ministry of Defense. But the law that covers us is under the Ministry of Transport. So there's a little bit of a discussion currently going on as to who should be chairing the meeting, the Director of Transport or the Permanent Secretary for Defense. Upskilling of our FHO staff, as I told you. Establishment of oceanographic and database management capability. This is the difficulty that we have. We don't have a good database and the management capability. We are in talks with the government of Japan right now on the establishment of this under our 4-year project, in which we will be able to get this maritime database from inside the coast to 200-meter contour using satellite-derived bathymetry, establishment of shipping lanes, local shipping lanes and international shipping lanes within Fiji, and high-density data for all the ports. This is right now what we are looking at, and as I said, we are up to where we have our tidal stations and weather stations in all the ports. to be able to cover for some aspects of the S100 ACDIS, and we're looking towards collaboration, especially with the government of Japan and the government of Korea, in being able to get the other layers up and running by 2027. That's all I have for you today. That's where we are right now, and we are hoping for the best, and we think that if we do work hard enough, collaborate well enough, and discuss more, listen more, we should be able to get everything done by 2027. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. Kapai. Thank you, Gerard. That was very interesting and much appreciated. Thank you for sharing your plans and for Fiji Hydrographic Service. I'm interested in terms of your vision and your aspiration in terms of your geospatial marine database. So the reason that I invited Gerard and Fiji to present to our S100 workshop for the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission is that there is a clear focus for the primary charting authorities in terms of S100 and if you like, in terms of the IHO roadmap. But we wanted to hear from coastal states and other member states, IHO member states in the region, not necessarily primary charting authorities, but to really focus in on your challenges. And I think you'll hopefully you'll recall in terms of my opening remarks and context setting, within our commission, we really do want to include all coastal states, and for the commission, that's observers, associate members, and member states. So thank you, Gerard. Very, very pleased for you to make your presentation and share that with within the workshop and wider within the Southwest Pacific. So you have some significant challenges there, and we would, as a commission, we'd like to support you in terms of your capacity building and your aspirations as we, as a commission, look to our capacity building plans for the future. And so your challenges, to my mind, are very different in terms of your requirements and where you're starting from. So, as I say, we really do want to ensure that the whole of the commission within our region and all the coastal states are catered for. So, happy to take any questions now from other participants in the call. If there are any more or any questions, please, for any of the presenters. We encourage questions. So there's one there from John Lowell, as I understand, to each of the presenters. In the comments there, as HOs may not produce all or any S100X products, has the discussion between the HO and other national or commercial producers of the products taken place? Perhaps more simply, is there a whole of nation approach to provision of the S100X marine geospatial data? So that's a good question. I think from New Zealand's point of view, we have had a conversation around we're not expecting to produce all of the S110X products, but we haven't yet had a further conversation with other stakeholders and other contributors. So that's the situation in New Zealand.
So from Australia's perspective, we have had informal discussions with various other authorities, but yet to have anything formally arranged. So we've identified that the Australian Maritime Safety Authority will be involved, the Bureau of Meteorology will be involved, Geosciences Australia are likely to be involved, and possibly even Department of Heritage and Environment for certain boundaries. So we intend to have those discussions probably commencing next year, I would imagine.
Yes, with regards to Fiji, we've signed an MOU with the Maritime Safety Administration. We are also in talks with Fiji Meteorological Service to share data. And we've already got a draft MOU. And also with the Ministry of Tauke Affairs, which is Ministry of Local Affairs that handles all the historical sites and the MPAs. So we are talking with them. We are drawing up their MPA boundaries as a part of our one of our exercises, and we are in talks with them to use those boundaries as part of the S100 data set.
Yes, Pierre-Yves.
Yes, for France, I would like to inform that we have a project ongoing about nautical information. We are very much in cooperation with maritime authorities, administration, in order to establish a national system managing a nautical information database with the aim to produce S124 products, and also for, I would say, all the coastal users, the delivery of nautical information on devices like smartphones. So it's a quite important project we launched last year, and S124 is probably the most advanced project regarding S100. We have in France, outside, I would say, outside Cham. As I mentioned before, we have ongoing experiments about products with ports. So we don't know yet what we will produce in the future with them, or if some will produce data for S102, for example. But we have ongoing projects with the Port of Brest. We are based in Brest, so it's easy, and also with Saint-Malo. So we have the intention to be closer to important ports in France.
Merci, thank you. So to add to my earlier comments, within New Zealand, we are engaged with Maritime New Zealand, the regulator, and we're looking at a memorandum of understanding in terms of promoting awareness, but also the change in terms of the products and the safety of navigation products. With other S100 products, we are considering who might be the producers and maintainers of those products. So for marine protected areas, that would be Department of Conservation, say, and Bureau, the Met Service, and some of our Crown Research Institutes for currents. And so it's not something that we have progressed, but we have had some consideration there in terms of who might be supplying those products. So I have some a further comment, and what we haven't really kind of discussed or talked about is what it means in terms of the benefits of S100 in terms of marine geospatial information. And we're rightly focused on S101 and the SOLAS navigation in terms of S100 ECDIS. Beyond that, there is the regulated vessels and recreational vessels and that whole community out there, and the need for engagement there, because there's some big changes that are happening. And then benefit in terms of digital first data centric and the marine geospatial data and geospatial data management. So I'm curious to know what other hydrographic offices are doing in terms of the bigger picture for the S100 benefits. And I can say that from New Zealand's point of view, we have a marine geospatial information work group that New Zealand facilitates and chairs, and we have a number of initiatives in terms of data enablement and data management, and within that would include the marine geospatial data as well. So I wonder if any officers have any comments or any experiences around benefits of S100 beyond SOLAS and S100 ECDIS. Helen, UKHO, please.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm just going to let you know about a trial that we're working on at the moment in relation to the S100 data architecture. It was really interesting to hear Verina's presentation. It sounds like you're much further ahead than us on this, but we have put a small team together working part-time on investigating our S100 HBD data architecture and looking at how we could store the data more effectively to gain benefits from the S100 data model. So we've been doing that as quite a small trial at the moment, and looking at how we would combine the S100, S101, sorry, and the S122 feature catalogues. And alongside that, we've also been looking at all of the different various options for database configuration, Scaleless, and various different things. So yeah, so we're quite early days at the moment, and it is very much sort of proof of concept and focusing on investigating and learning.
Thank you, Helen. Any other comments or questions from any other? Yeah, John Lowell, USA, please go ahead.
Hello, Adam. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, great series of presentations. So I did want to mention that we are struggling a bit with this same challenge, but we've even started at a more fundamental level on the governance side. So within the U.S., we have a body referred to as the Committee on Marine Transportation Systems, or CMTS. It's a huge multi-agency endeavor to try to coordinate activities across the marine transportation sector, of which the provisioning of hydrographic services is simply one small part. But as the S100 concept and the Universal Hydrographic Data Model was being developed, we pitched that to this larger group of 26 agencies that deal with marine geospatial data. And over the last several years, we have gotten all 26 agencies to commit to the Universal Hydrographic Data Model is the way that they will deal with marine geospatial information moving forward where possible. So what we're trying to do is at a very basic, foundational layer is get multiple agencies, regardless of whether they're actually provisioning this data right now, or what is their role within this, IMO e-navigation concept, to utilize this interoperable data set wherever possible. Now, it won't meet everyone's needs for all digital data within, the eNav concept that the IMO is moving on. But where marine geospatial data should be utilized, especially concurrently with others in an interoperable way, we do believe that the Universal Hydrographic Data Model is the way forward. And so we have actively tried to get all those agencies to commit verbally to it. Now, who's going to produce what product suite? Completely different question, and we're not there yet. But I bring that up because it is sometimes a major challenge to get people to agree to even think about the problem. And I can leave that there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I think from New Zealand's point of view, we haven't had those conversations externally, and we've only had them very briefly internally. But I don't think we have had any conversation regarding S100 as the universal data model and the concept and adoption of that for marine geospatial data. So we'd be very interested to hear more about that, because I think that is something that we will certainly need to consider. So Chris Hunt, UKHO.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. You might all think I'm completely nuts, but I think that one of the things we need to think about is we're talking a lot about the push factors and what we're doing and how we're working across our ecosystems. But I thought you might like me to share that some of the conversations I've had recently have been in relation to COP26, which is going to start imminently in Glasgow. And in terms of industry transformation, the sense that we're getting from some of the very senior conversations that are having between governments is that actually there will be a massive pull factor here in terms of the data that the industry requires. So, for example, if we're talking about climate change and reducing impact on the climate, if we can find efficiencies for shipping companies in terms of the waiting time for going into port, and there are huge waiting times at the moment, finding a data model that supports initiatives like just-in-time arrival and Internet of Things, I think that's a really significant pull factor that we need to factor into the discussion. So it's not just in a way down to us to work across the ecosystems. It's down to us to recognise that there is a significant pull factor.
Okay, thank you. And so I think one comment that I did hear from the council meeting was interesting in that whilst we talk about safety and improvements in safety, we already have a lot of safety in terms of shipping. So, what's the benefits here and what's the value? And talking about greater efficiency, route planning, route monitoring, and as Chris just said there, just in time, but also emissions targets. So do we have any further questions? Okay, so I don't see any further questions, and we have reached the end of our time. So I just want to say a big thank you to all the presenters, and for sharing where you are on your journey. And I think for our commission, it was certainly the intention for us to bring together this community in our region to share our learnings. And I think we will be coming back now to each of us in terms of learning and understanding how you're moving on that journey as well. I do think there is some big questions still to answer in terms of the coastal states, the S100, the benefits of S100, and how to articulate that, and how we do that in our region. And that will be a topic in terms of when we talk about our work plan and developing our work plan. But I'd like to thank you all. for joining us wherever you might be in, at whatever time of day or night. And thank you to the presenters. And just to say that we will be sharing this online through the IHO website. And also appreciate your feedback in terms of the usefulness and maybe any improvements in terms of this workshop and the format, in terms of the length of time and the number of presentations. But I think I'm quite pleased that we've had the engagement that we have, and when I think about the numbers, we've had at least 30 plus. So I don't think there's anything more for me to say apart from thank you very much, and we will be in touch. So as far as Southwest Pacific and the Commission is concerned, now we'll be doing the preparation in terms of the next conference, which is in February 2022, which I think is likely almost certainly to be online. And we'll be asking for your engagement and your participation. And I thank you very much for your attention.